you will have that opportunity if you come and take her class here at the ARC. So here's Mitra Hooshmand.
8-pack abs in just 8 minutes. Drop 10 pounds this month. Greater running and 6-pack abs guaranteed. And slimmer by next week. Maybe even building muscle fast. These are perhaps some of the one-liner blurbs that we hear about all the time, that we see on the cover of popular media magazines. We look at them.
Sorry, we need a second mic on you.
Thank you.
This one's
I thought I would be loud, but that's actually upside down.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Better? Okay. So we hear these things, or we see them in popular media all the time. The question is, do you believe them? Should you believe them? So what I'm going to argue to you today is that there is in fact a huge delineating line between the worlds of fitness within the popular media and what evidence is considered to be healthy, or evidence considers to be healthy. And what I'm going to argue to you actually is that there is in fact a line right in the middle of evidence and popular media, where the two worlds can be fused together and you can make better choices about your health based on evidence as opposed to popular media. But first, maybe we should take a look at when it is that we even look for evidence. For instance, if you think about it, when we want to vote on a particular act or a proposition that has been proposed, such as the climate, think about it. When we're debating that concept, we ask for evidence. We turn to the scientists to tell us whether or not we should invest in our climate. What about our judicial system? When we are within the court, we ask for testimonials. We ask for witnesses. We ask to read documents. We ask for evidence. What about when we're looking for a new job opportunity, a new career path, a new university to attend? We ask what the sustainability of the company is like. We ask how many graduates the university has had and where they've gone on to, what the average GPAs are, what is the likelihood of finding a job. We ask for evidence. What about when we want to invest in a property? We find out how much the house right next door sold for. We find out whether or not that house was on the market for too long, how its square footage compares to our house. We ask for evidence. So I ask you, why is it that when it comes to our health, we blindly believe what the popular media tells us? Why don't we ask for evidence? Perhaps this is why. This is a snapshot of one of the most popular electronic databases available in the area of life sciences and medicine called Pubmed. As you can see, this has given you a very short screenshot of a number of different manuscripts written by scientists about scientific data, evidence with regards to the areas of health as they relate to fitness and nutrition. Take a look at the list. Is it interesting? Are you motivated to read any of these? No. Let's take a look at one in particular, the first one. If, let's say, you were even interested to read the first one, you would click on it, and here's what you would see. An abstract, about 300 to 500 words of what is considered to be the summary of the work of that particular scientist or group of scientists in the area of health or fitness in which they were doing research. If you're so lucky as to be a part of an academic university or a company that has invested in subscription of these journals, you might even have full access to these papers. But if you're not, if you're just the lay public, you can't even access the full paper. This is all you get. So now, let's say you even were interested and you clicked on the paper or you didn't even want to click on the paper, but you just wanted to go by the abstract and decide whether or not you can decipher anything from this. Well, let's take a look at the results. A lot of abbreviations, a lot of numbers. Do any of these mean anything? Not really. So what do? You do the same thing popular media does. You look at the conclusions line. You read the conclusions. But ask any scientist and they'll tell you within the conclusions are embedded many different caveats, none of which you're able to decipher unless you read the results. So now we're in a vicious cycle. What do? How do you formulate your ideas? How do you go based on evidence then? To you, and to me, and to most other people out there, this may simply sound like blah, blah, blah. So that's why we turn to popular media, because it simplifies things. It gives us one-liner blurbs that we understand and think we can apply correctly. But looks can be deceiving. There are no attractive pictures of sexy women with six-packs or men with eight-pack abs here. These are a bunch of words, most of which seem unfamiliar to us. But I argue, looks are deceiving. So let me give you a couple of examples, 2 examples today. One is alkaline water. How many people have heard of alkaline water? A few. Well, that's relieving in some ways. So the idea of alkaline water is it's a type of water that's basic in its pH. So normal water, the water you're drinking right now, is at a pH of 7 to 7.2, neutral pH. Alkaline water is more basic. So the pH of alkaline water is close to 9. Here are some of the claims associated with alkaline water. It detoxes your body. It provides you with better health. It can even make you thinner. These are the claims. Do you believe them? Let's talk about what science says. Let's think about what happens to alkaline water when you drink it. So here's the process. Here's water. Doesn't matter what kind of water you just drank. It could be vinegar, it could be regular water, it could be alkaline water. It goes through your mouth, into your pharynx, and lands in your stomach. Inside your stomach, your stomach starts to secrete a variety of juices. They call these gastric juices. These are chemicals that are going to start the chemical breakdown of that food, water, whatever it was that you just had. One of the chemicals that's released in the stomach is hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid at high concentrations, if I pour it on my finger, 1 drop of it is going to burn through my skin and expose my bones. That's the kind of acid that is released inside our stomach at a very, very low pH. So imagine alkaline water is around here, and this is what our stomach is secreting. So ultimately, did it really matter if I drank pH 9 or pH 7 water? It's all landing in the stomach, and it's all going to go down to a pH of 1. Let's take it one step further. What happens after I drink this water, and now I need to absorb it? At some point, it needs to go into my bloodstream. Well, can my blood actually handle a pH 1 or 2 at all? What is the pH of blood? Neutral pH. 7.2 to 7.4, physiological pH. Smallest fluctuations within that pH can take us into anaphylactic shock. What does that suggest to you? That it really doesn't matter what the pH inside my stomach was, what the pH of this original water was. Ultimately, it all has to get adjusted by my blood to a pH of 7.2 to 7.4. Yeah?
Is this the Kangen water?
Kangen is one of them. There are a variety of them. Yeah. So just for fun, let's see how much it costs. I'm a scientist, so I like to give you a control variable first. And here's the control. Search on Amazon. So the same website is going to be used throughout this, right? Search on Amazon. This is a 16.9 ounce bottle, 24 bottles per case of a typical water you would get, Arrowhead or any other type of water that you might be able to pick up at a store. The price of it, $7, right? Let's see how much it costs to get alkaline water, which promotes better health. A whopping $47. The same website, 24 case, Granted, I'll give it to you, it's a 20-ounce bottle instead of 16.9. Does it really render a $40 difference? For water that doesn't even do anything. It's the same thing that you drink day in and day out. Where's the evidence? Let's take another example. Bikram yoga. It's become highly popular in the Western world. High temperatures, over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, more than 80% humidity. And what is the concept behind Bikram? When you work out in these high temperatures, flexibility increases. You can push yourself harder. You can detoxify. You can reduce stress. You can lose weight. We see them all the time. Here are some examples. Reduce stress, weight loss with Bikram, all over popular media. Take a look at just some of the basic searches in Shape magazine, Women's Health, Fox News, Oprah. Bikram yoga is the way to go. This is the new fad. This is how you reduce stress and lose weight. What does evidence say? Let's take a look. Let's turn back to Pubmed and do a keyword search for one of the most traditional forms of yoga, Iyengar. Hundreds of thousands of papers related to Iyengar demonstrating its beneficial effects. Just to reduce that number, I've put in 2 keyword searches here, Iyengar and benefits together, so that there's a limited number of results. And as you can see, 32 papers have been retrieved. Let's take a look at another one, Hatha. Hatha yoga is also probably one of the most ancient forms of yoga. Again, 13 results retrieved. Okay, let's take a look at Bikram. Are you ready for this? 0. Not a shred of scientific evidence to prove the beneficial effects of Bikram yoga. I've written an article about Bikram, and I can tell you that not only does Bikram not have a shred of scientific evidence to support its benefits, but there's also a case study of Bikram yoga having caused hallucinations. Where is the evidence, I ask you? So why do we turn to popular media then? We see the data, it doesn't seem to match, but we still turn to them, we read those magazines. There are a lot of speculations about why we do that. Part of it is because we want to see fast results. We are a nation that is driven by results. And those magazines, the popular media, guarantees us fast results. So we're motivated. We want to read them. It's also because they're attractive. Who doesn't like to pick up a magazine that doesn't have the picture of sexy men and women on it, mostly half naked? It also makes us think that we'll become more sexually desirable. And everybody wants that. These, by the way, are all supported by scientific evidence. The problem is that this type of mentality, this type of approach to health is transient. It drops off very quickly. It's not long-lasting. Only for the short time when you're reading that magazine are you motivated to work out harder. Maybe for another week or 2 weeks, but not for the long term. And this is what I propose. I think long-lasting health effects can only be obtained if you're educated vis-a-vis evidence. You need to have the evidence and be educated about why you do the things that you do in order to have long-lasting and permanent habits. And this is what I argue to you. So let's take a look at one example again. Public education of the benefits of exercise. Unequivocally proven to be beneficial. And I use the word prove. It's a strong word. As a scientist, I never use that word. I will use it for the case of exercise benefits. It has been proven to be beneficial. A variety of different areas, and the list goes on and on. Disease prevention of a variety of different diseases. It helps musculoskeletal fitness. It helps your posture. It helps your psyche. It causes neurogenesis and makes your brain work better. And the list goes on and on. So we know. We have the evidence that exercise works, that it has benefits. And yet, we don't feel motivated to do it. We have a lot of excuses for why we don't do it. I don't have time, I work too hard. I have to pack a bag with myself, I have to go to the gym is too far. I have to sweat, and then take a shower, and the excuses keep going on and on. But ultimately, science has an answer, even to our excuses. Even to our excuses. The problem is, the language is too complex. How do you get this language that is so complex and incomprehensible by the public to be somehow translated so that the public feels that they can understand it and actually apply it to daily life? And this is where the disconnect falls. This is exactly where the dissonance between science and fitness comes into play. The scientists want to communicate with the public. Their only intermediary at the moment is popular media. So what do they say to popular media? They say things like this. Using RT-PCR techniques, we've discovered a gene known as irisin, which regulates the exercise-mediated expression of another gene, FNDC5, reducing diet-induced weight gain. The popular media listens intently and translates this as, exercise may have no effect on you because of your genes. Lost in translation. So we say, let's take popular media out altogether. Let's go directly from the scientists to the public. Bad idea. The scientist continues to say what they always say, and now the public says, scientists recently discovered a gene, something about some diet and exercise. And this is where the chain of command fails. So I said, let's take a new approach. Let's take these scientists through a different intermediary, through the intermediary of other scientists who understand this language, but can talk the simple language of public. Not the scientific jargon, but the simple words that everybody can understand. And bring these worlds together. And with that, I brought together two of my worlds. So as you heard earlier, I'm a neuroscientist. So I've done research over the last 10 years in the area of spinal cord injuries. So my expertise, at least in biological sciences and life sciences, is quite immense. But I'm also a health nut. And you would probably hear that from most of the people who know me. What they'll tell you is that I'm a competitive athlete, or I used to be at least, and that I love fitness. I always think about it. It's my world. It's what I do. I wear my shoes, I run, I think about diet, I think about exercise all the time. And so one day I said to myself, I need to bring these worlds together. I need to put the world of fitness with my world of science and strike a perfect balance. And that's exactly what I did when I founded a website that has become probably the biggest passion of my life at this point, Scientific. Scientific is an e-publishing group. That's the website. And it's a network of collaborative scientists. These scientists come together to try and understand the scientific jargon and translate it to the lay public in language that they can understand. And the whole premise is to establish the right communication between scientists and the public. And in fact, I've had so much passion for Scientific that I've decided recently I'm going to register the site as a 501c3 nonprofit because it is purely meant to educate the public, something that is truly lacking about evidence-based practice of health. The public needs to understand that following healthy habits require that we follow them based on evidence. Let me give you a couple of examples of what we've done. So taking a look at one of the typical articles on Scientific, we've taken an idea, we've taken the excuse of time. I don't have time to work out. Looked into research and said, what does science say about people who don't have time? And this is what we found. 20 minutes is enough. And we have simplified it. We have made it so that you can understand, that the public can understand why only 20 minutes is enough. That's all the time you need to put in. But now, what kind of 20 minutes? If I normally get on a treadmill and I walk for an hour, can I just continue to do the same thing, just now for 20 minutes? No. We also tell you what to do. We tell you about the concept of intervals. We tell you what that means. What is this concept of HIIT, H-I-I-T, that everybody talks about? We simplify it. We tell you what it means. Not only that, we give you exercises that are exactly based on, founded upon the principles of evidence proposed by 20-minute interval workouts. So we bring the worlds together, science and fitness, habits that are formulated and founded upon the principles of evidence. And so with that, we take pride in the fact that while most fitness media find that to be sexy, we find what you see on the right to be sexy. We think knowledge is sexy, but knowledge delivered in the proper way. And with that, I wanted to thank, actually before I do that, I ask you one more time to think about this. Think about every time you see these magazines on shelves. Think about it. Do you believe them? And when you see those claims, the one-liner blurbs, ask yourself, where is the evidence? What is there to support this claim? And with that, ask yourself, what is scientific? What is the scientific claim here? If you can't find the answer, let us know. We'll do the research for you. But ask the question. And so I wanted to thank a few people before I leave who have been incredibly, incredibly important in the progress of scientific. The first and foremost is Priya Gohil, who's actually sitting here. She is the director of public relations. She and I worked in the same lab. She was an undergrad in the lab. And through a random, spontaneous conversation, and it's interesting how spontaneity seems to play a big role in science in general. Some of the most interesting discoveries in the universe were founded through spontaneity. And I sometimes think back to the day when I started talking to Priya, sitting as I was sectioning a piece of tissue, and I just started to ask her, what are you going to do the rest of your life? And then I decided I was going to take her on board. She came on board. She became the director of public relations for Scientific, and has her enthusiasm, motivation, drive, and belief in the site has really moved us forward immensely. And so I really have to thank Priya for that. The second person is Katie, who could not be here today, but she has also been a contributor for Scientific. And in addition to that, she's my first student for mixed yoga. I just recently started a teacher training program for mixed yoga. She was the first student to get on board and is actually almost done with her certification, and has also been an incredibly avid supporter of the site. I can't thank John Halsey enough. John was one of the first people to believe in mixed yoga. He was the one who, when I approached him and said, I have this program that I've made. It's based on scientific evidence, and I want to include this at the ARC, he said, let's do it. And we went from one class on a Friday night to 2 classes to 3 classes next quarter, demonstrating that the class is popular. It's sold out every single quarter so far. And based on at least the data that we have collected, it has evidence behind it, and it is well supported that it does actually improve health. And lastly, just wanted to thank the Scientific Advisory Board of Scientific, who have also been very helpful in reviewing things. We've actually submitted an abstract for presentation at the American Public Health Association meeting in Boston in November, specifically to promote this idea of raising public awareness about evidence-based practice of health habits. And with that, thank you for listening, and I will take any questions that you have.